Well, everybody, welcome to take 3 of Just Parlays. I'm Jim Williams along with Chris King. And Chris, let's hope that we have a better chance of getting the parlays right than I've had of getting us on the air here for this afternoon. If you're watching us on Facebook or Twitter or YouTube, Twitch, or any of the other wonderful sites that are carrying our broadcast, we welcome you. And so, Chris, reflect a little bit. Had a wild night on the big board.
Well, yeah. I mean, first there were a lot of strange games that teams that looked like they were going to win decided to blow games late.
Mm-hmm.
So that took out a lot of the smaller ones that we had. But surprisingly, if you messed with the shot in the dark, we gave you 10 games last night. 8 of them came up on the positive side of the board.
Mm-hmm.
So you could have come out with a pretty profitable night altogether. We told you last night to take the Wild -1.5 over the Coyotes. They won that one comfortably 5-2 as Arizona regressed to their lack of talent on the road playing ways. We had Davidson -4.5 over Charlotte. They won 75-58. We said Santa Clara -11 over Hawaii. They won by 12 to pull that one out. We said the Grizzlies over the Raptors, taking 3.5 points. The Grizzlies winning by 7 on the road over a slumping Toronto team. We also said Golden State Phoenix under 222. That game ended up 104-96 in favor of the Suns, which is only 200 points in case you're scoring at home. We said Portland and Detroit would stay under 216. The Trailblazers won 110-92, putting up a total of 202 in that one. I said take the Billikens +3 over Boise State because I was not impressed with Boise State's 39 points in that loss to Cal State Bakersfield over the weekend. St. Louis wins 86-82 outright in overtime up there in the Gem State. And we said Wake Forest over Northwestern. That was another game that went to overtime, but the Demon Deacons pulling it out at home in the big ACC Big Ten Challenge. So had you played those 8 just by themselves, would have turned $100 into over $16,000.
Not a bad day at the ranch. So, all right.
It almost makes up for all the stupid games that didn't go our way in the other ones.
This is true. Life is a balance, guys. Life is a balance. All right. We got a lot of stuff to get to and a little time to get to it. So here we go. We'll start on the college hardwood. And where are we headed there, boss?
It's a Big Five battle as Villanova makes the crosstown trek to the Palestra to take on Penn. Villanova 4-2 this season. Penn is just 3-6. And if you look at it, Villanova's 2 losses this season are at UCLA in overtime and to number 2 Purdue on a neutral floor. Both those teams ranked in the top 5. Meanwhile, Penn has done not a whole lot to write home about. Like I said, they're 3-6. They have 5 losses by double digits this year, including a 16-point loss to Towson. That's not really something you want to write home about. Their other loss was an 8-point double overtime loss on a neutral floor to Utah State. The Quakers struggling on the defensive end of the floor. Steve Donahue has to really try and find a way to get that going. They're 284th in defensive efficiency, 248th in effective field goal percentage defense. They're facing a Villanova team ranked 3rd in offensive efficiency according to Ken Palm. Villanova 5-1 in their last 6 as a favorite. They're 4-1 in their last 5 on Wednesday. They just dismantled LaSalle in another Big 5 game. Look for them to cover the 17.5 on the road. Granted, the Palestra is a great building, but it doesn't help Penn here.
No, I think that Villanova is going to win the Battle of Philadelphia. It's definitely one of those things that you're sitting there going, wow, let's go out and watch a game. If you do get a chance to go out and watch a game at the Palestra, I strongly recommend you do it. It's a great place to watch a game. So we're going from there, and now we're headed to
the land of Lincoln in a town called Normal, where I guess if you're normal, if Illinois State is the new normal, stay away. I'm going to take the Bears -6.5 over the Redbirds. Missouri State 4-2 on the year. Illinois State 3-4, but they only got there because they beat Purdue Northwest over the weekend, 81-71. Kudos if you've heard of Purdue Northwest, because in 3 decades of following college basketball, I had never heard of them. Illinois State is horrible on the defensive end of the floor. They're 283rd in defensive efficiency, 231st in effective field goal percentage. They give up offensive rebounds on 35.2% of the opposing team's misses, and they're 329th in three-point field goal percentage defense. If that's not enough for you, Illinois State is 357 out of 358 teams in Division I in scoring defense. They've given up at least 100 points in 3 out of their 7 games this season. They're facing a Missouri State team that is 25th in offensive efficiency, 14th in effective field goal percentage, 26th in three-point shooting, 35th in two-point shooting, and they're even good at the free throw line. Missouri State's 4-0 in their last 4 on Wednesday. They're 10-1-2 in their last 13 as a road favorite. They're 14-3-1 against teams with a losing record. Illinois State 1-8-1 against the spread in their last 10 at home. 0-5-1 against the spread as their last 6 as a home underdog. And Missouri State's taking the last 4 in this series. Look for them to make it 5, as Illinois State simply can't stop anybody.
Well, the Show Me State will get an opportunity to show Illinois how good they are this time around. So we've gone from over to Missouri. Now it's time to move up to.
We're going to go to the Valley of the Sun. The Washington State Cougars. Kyle Smith doing a good job with that team as he takes them down to Tempe to face the struggling Arizona State Sun Devils. Washington State 5-1 on the year, though they did lose the other day to Eastern Washington at home. However, Arizona State is just 2-5, and they finished 0-3 in the battle for Atlantis, losing to Syracuse and Loyola of Chicago, among others. Washington State 47th in offensive efficiency, 63rd in effective field goal percentage. They kill you on the offensive glass. They're 11th in the nation, and they get to the free throw line a lot. They are second in the country by averaging almost half a free throw per field goal attempt. So you figure if you take 60 field goal attempts in a game, you're going to get to the line 30 times.
Mm-hmm.
Arizona State was lost 4 in a row. Marcus Bagley doubtful again with an elbow injury. Arizona State just 3-12-2 in their last 17 as an underdog. They're 1-6-1 in their last 8 on Wednesday, and they're 0-3-1 in their last 4 against teams with a winning percentage above 600. I'll take Washington State and give the 2 because Arizona State just hasn't been able to stop anybody.
It's a good reason to do it. So we go from the hardwood and we head to the ice.
Right, and we're going to head to the Motor City. Tonight, the Seattle Kraken, who have won 2 straight and 4 of 5, including that 7-4 win over Buffalo on Monday night, heading to take on the Red Wings, who are coming in off a 2-1 win over Boston on the road, but they're playing the second game of a back-to-back here. So you have to wonder what kind of toll it's going to take, especially playing a physical team like the Bruins on the road.
Mm-hmm.
Seattle's 5-1 in their last 6 against the East. They're 4-1 in their last 5 against the Atlantic Division. Detroit 26-66 in their last 92 when they've scored 2 goals or less. They're 11-30 in their last 41 against a team that's coming in after scoring at least 5. And Detroit is 2-8 in their last 10 on Wednesday. I like the Kraken here. They're a short favorite at -111.
Mm-hmm.
But the Red Wings, like I said, they're playing the second game of a back-to-back. They had to fly in after playing Boston last night. They're going to be tired. Seattle had Tuesday off, so they were able to rest and recover after lighting Buffalo up like the Christmas tree in Rockefeller Center. Look for the Kraken to take the win here.
Just for the record, today they will light the Christmas tree at Rockefeller Center. So if you haven't been in Manhattan, that might be worth the time. All right, so we now know that the Kraken are going to get released tonight. And we move on to our next game, and there is...
We've got Vegas and Anaheim. The Ducks have been a surprise this season as they've actually stuck around in the Pacific Division after being absolutely abysmal last year.
Mm-hmm.
But they're playing the second game of a back-to-back. They beat the Kings in a shootout 5-4 Tuesday night. But they're facing a Vegas team that's getting healthy. They've got Max Pacioretty and Mark Stone back in recent weeks. The Knights have won 6 out of 9. They haven't played since Saturday, so they've had 3 days off while the Ducks just played yesterday. We've seen Vegas go 5-0 in their last 5 after scoring 2 or less. They're 7-2 in their last 9 against Western Conference teams. Anaheim has lost 5 of their last 7 in the second game of a back-to-back set. They're 1-4 in their last 5 when it's the third game in 4 nights. And if you look at the bottom there, Vegas has owned this series of late, winning 18 of the last 21 meetings, and they've taken the last 5 at the Pond in Anaheim. Look for the Knights to take advantage of a fatigued Ducks team to pick up the win.
Okay, like shooting ducks on the pond, as the old saying goes. Be a good night for the Golden Knights, and Vegas has had a success in the 4 years that they've been in existence. So not a bad night to be out in the desert. So we go from the desert to.
We're going to go to the barn of good old Madison Square Garden as the surging Rangers take on the tumbling Flyers. Philadelphia has dropped their last 6 games coming into this one, while the Rangers are 11-1 in their last 12 against Eastern Conference teams. They're 7-1 in their last 8 overall. The Flyers don't score on the road. They're averaging just 1.8 goals per game in their 10 road games this season, and they only average 2.2 goals per game against Metropolitan Division teams. Meanwhile, the Flyers are 0-6 in their last 6 as an underdog. They're 0-6 in their last 6 against the Eastern Conference. They're 0-4 in their last 4 on the road. Meanwhile, the Rangers have won 5 straight at home. They've won their last 4 division games. With the Flyers unable to score on the road, you have to fade them here. Take the Rangers in the puck line at plus 134 as they win this one to send the fans home happy. And at least somebody's winning in New York, because we sure know the Islanders aren't.
This is a good point. Yes, sir. And at least they're healthy enough to be out there playing on the ice, which makes it even better.
This is true, too. I mean, both those teams were supposed to play the Islanders. The Rangers were supposed to play them Sunday. Philadelphia would have played them last night.
Right.
But obviously, those 2 games were postponed due to the COVID outbreak with the Islanders.
Right. So the Isles are not around. And so we're going to close out our night on the ice. Where?
In the capital city of Canada. That's right. We're going to the Canadian Tire Center in Ottawa. The slumping Senators hosting the equally inept Canucks. I'm going to take Vancouver minus 125. Ottawa has lost 5 in a row. They're 1-10-1 in their last 12. Vancouver beat Montreal 2-1 Monday night in another battle of bad Canadian teams. Ottawa is just 1-7 in their last 8 at home. They're 1-7 after scoring 2 goals or less in their last game. And strangely, they're 0-4 when they face an opponent that scored 2 or less in their last game. Ottawa's last in the league in goals against at 3.84. They're 27th in goals for. Vancouver's taken 10 of the last 14 meetings between these teams, and they actually had a chance to feel good about themselves for a little while with that win over the Canadiens on Monday night. Look for them to actually put together 2 in a row, and as Lou Brown would tell you in Major League, that's called a winning streak.
That is indeed a winning streak. And, it's funny with those 2 teams playing tonight. It may not be a bad night if you're in Canada to watch some curling.
PSN. There is the Avalanche and Maple Leafs in a battle of 2 hot teams that you could probably watch.
That's another one worthy of consideration. All right, so we've been to the college hardwood. We've been to the ice. Now we're going to the association. And where do we go first, my friend?
We're going to go down to the Sunshine State, where the Denver Nuggets, who bit me the other day when they beat Miami on the road, will now face the other team from the Sunshine State, the struggling Orlando Magic. And I'm going to take the Nuggets minus 7.5, despite the fact that Bones Highland and Austin Rivers were placed in the league's health and safety protocols this morning. That means look for a lot more of Monty Morris and Facundo Campazzo in the backcourt for the Nuggets. It's not really going to matter with Nikola Jokic back. He had a big game the other night. Cole Anthony is going to come back for Orlando, but as they say, they taketh away. Jalen Suggs out with a broken thumb. He'll be reevaluated in a couple weeks. The Magic also minus Markelle Fultz, Ejuan Moore, Jonathan Isaac, Michael Carter-Williams, Tracy McGrady, Penny Hardaway, and Shaq. Denver's 6th in the league in scoring defense. Orlando is just 28th in scoring offense. They're averaging 99.6 points per game. Tough to score against a Denver team that's that good defensively, especially with Jokic in the mix. Orlando, they're 1-8 at home. And it doesn't matter if they play a good team or a bad team. The Magic are 5-17-1 in their last 23 at home against teams with a winning percentage on the road of under 400. So they can't even beat bad road teams.
Well, and look at it this way. You can always pick up some good cleaning products at the Amway Center in Orlando. So there's that.
Well, you got to take your wins where you can get them.
That's exactly right. Okay, gang, we're moving on. Staying in the hardwood in the NBA, and
it's
boom,
a Pacific Division clash
the
with the Clippers and the Kings. In case you tuned in late last night, the Kings faced a Lakers team that didn't have LeBron James. They were up by 14 in the third quarter and proceeded to lose by 25. The Kings are 2-3 under Alvin Gentry after Luke Walton got fired. I don't know if he's going to be the answer there. Kings 1-2 in the second game of back-to-backs this year. They've dropped 6 of their last 8. They're 0-4 against the spread in their last 4 after a double-digit loss. They're 1-4 against teams with a winning record. The Clippers 10-4 in their last 14 after losing by double digits at home, and they've won 10 of the last 13 meetings between the teams. Marvin Bagley, not to be confused with Marcus Bagley that we talked about from Arizona State, it's his brother. Marvin Bagley, questionable tonight. So is Buddy Hield. If either one of those guys don't play for the Kings, it's going to be an even rougher night after you just got curb stomped by the dysfunctional Lakers. You can't really trust them here against the Clips.
Well, sometimes things go your way, sometimes they don't. I see that we have Jones in the house. Hello. Welcome back, Joan.
Yep, you're not the only one who got burned by Duke. If they could have learned how to play basketball in the second half instead of hitting 2 field goals in the last 11-plus minutes and then not scoring in the last, 4:37 or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
I guess Duke just rode off the laurels of beating Gonzaga. Paolo Banchero was non-existent in the second half of that game, going 0 for 7 again. He did nothing in the second half against Gonzaga. I have to wonder, is he going to be a guy that's going to have to only play 17 to 20 minutes a game, because he seems to be hitting a wall in the second half of games, and it's got to be concerning for Mike Krzyzewski.
Yeah. Quick question from Zach here. He wants to know if you expect a line movement on the Denver game once the COVID news gets out, and is there value in waiting to lock that down?
There might be a little bit of movement, but Highland is only averaging about 8 points a game. Rivers isn't all that much of a contributor either. If all of a sudden Nikola Jokic got knocked out, then I'd be concerned about a massive line movement. As it stands, you might see it go down maybe to 6 or 6.5. I don't see it going a whole lot further than that.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely, if you can get a shorter line, by all means, it would be beneficial to you, because Denver should win this one anyway. But the less points you have to cover, the easier it is. And apparently Jim vanished on me, so
I'm back.
Oh, there he is. See that?
There you go. I'm here.
He was trying to pull off a magic trick. He was trying to show you how Duke's offense disappeared last night.
Right. That was one of those quick run to the, I had to run to the bench real fast. So anyway, all right, we got that one under our belt, and any more going back to the association?
Yep, we've got one more association game. As it's going to be in the Sooner State as the Rockets take on the Thunder in a battle of no one really cares, but it's on the schedule. These teams just met on Monday night, and we said we told you to stay under or take the under in that game, and it ended up with a combined 191 points as the Rockets took a 182-89 win at the Toyota Center. Well, guess what? I'm not expecting a whole lot more offense here, so I think under 215 is your safe bet. After all, the Rockets are 26th in the league in scoring offense, while Oklahoma City is dead last. The Rockets have stayed under the total 13 of their 20 games this year. Oklahoma City stayed under the total 14 of their 20 games. All 3 meetings this year. Can you believe it? These teams are going to close out their season series by playing for the 4th time in the first quarter of the season. But all 3 meetings this year have fallen under the total. 7 of their last 9 matchups have come in under the number. Houston 6-1 with the under and a 1-day rest. The under's 5-1 in their last 6 after a straight-up win. Oklahoma City has seen the under go 5-0 at home against their last 5 against teams with a losing road record. And by the way, in case you didn't know, the Rockets are 0-11 on the road this year. That's the complete qualification of a losing road mark. The under also 5-0, and the Thunder
The very
in their last
definition.
yeah, in their last 5 against teams with a winning percentage under 400, which at 4-16, the Rockets qualify.
Indeed, they do.
So look for this one to fall short of the mark. I don't know why they're setting it at 215. It's like you think all of a sudden they think Clyde Drexler, Hakeem Olajuwon, and all those guys are going to come back for the Rockets, and the Thunder are going to get Kevin Durant,
Right.
Westbrook, and Harden back on the floor. You'd be lucky if you see these teams crack 205, much less 215.
Well, there you go. There's your lock, folks. All right. Speaking of that, it's time, I think, we go and cash in some cash on 2 for the money. What do you think?
I'm all for it.
Boom.
Like we said that I just went over it, the Rockets and the Thunder under 215. I'd like to know who's coming up with these numbers because they don't make sense when you look at it. You're talking about 2 bottom 5 scoring offenses. I don't know where you're expecting to get these points from. And I like Villanova. Granted, they're laying 17.5, but all 4 of their wins this year have come by at least 18 points, and the closest margin was an 18-point win over a ranked Tennessee team. Penn's just 3-6. Even playing at home, the Blessed, there's a lot of history there. The history is not going to help Penn on tonight's game. And then, like I said, I like Denver minus 7.5 over Orlando. If you can get that number shorter, by all means, take it. The Magic 1-8 at home. They're 4-18 overall. And Missouri State minus 6.5 over Illinois State. Like I said, Illinois State's given up 100 or more points in 3 out of 7 games this season. If that doesn't say free points, I don't know what does.
It pretty much says 3 points. All right, so we've gone 2 for the money. Let's go 4 for the show, folks. Mark it down.
Yep, and mix it up a little bit. I like the Heat giving 6 points at home over Cleveland. Miami let me down the other night, but I don't see the Cavaliers suddenly having an infusion of talent like the return of Jokic was for the Nuggets the other night. I like the Wizards returning home after they bombed out the other night against the Spurs.
Right.
Minus 4 over Minnesota. The Timberwolves, they're playing decent basketball, but they're still on the road. They're not a great road team. Like we said earlier, I like the Kraken minus 111 over the Red Wings. Detroit playing the second game of a back-to-back. Seattle's won 2 straight on the road. They beat Florida, who had won 11 in a row at home. And then they beat Buffalo resoundingly. And on the college hardwood, I like Memphis going on the road, going to Athens over Georgia. Georgia is 1-5-1 against the spread in their 7 games this season. You have to wonder if the seat's getting a little bit warmer for Tom Crean, as the Bulldogs just are not playing good basketball.
No, not at all. And that's pretty rare, but it is the case. There's no question about it. All right, so here's the key, and we talk about this all the time, and that is what we're about to show you is crazy, okay? It's crazy for a reason. It's like a Chinese menu. You don't have to do all 10. You can do 5, you can do 4, you can do 2, you can do 6, whatever. As Chris told you, 8 knocked in last night, which would have been a pretty good bet. So with all that caveat being said, Chris, I'm going to turn it over to you and take us through. Go for it, man.
Well, first, I want to answer this question from Ryan. Ryan, you asked about the Thunder Rocket total the other night. It was 191, 102.89 in favor of Houston. Their highest point total in their 3 meetings this season came in the first matchup. Houston won 124-91 for 215 against a 221 total. The last 2 games between those teams have fallen under 200 points. Back to what we were talking about here in the giant cluster of fun stuff, I'm going to take Coppin State, and take note, I would never touch Coppin State if they weren't getting 23.5 points. St. Bonaventure is a ranked team. They are coming off a loss to Northern Iowa. But Coppin State's 0-9 on the road, but they do cover games. They've covered 8 of their last 9. And they've hung tough against some teams. So look for this one to be a game that the Eagles can hang around. They'll probably lose by 15 or 20 points, but guess what? That means they would still cover. I'm going to take Texas Tech minus 2.5 on the road against Providence. The Red Raiders not missing a beat, even though Chris Beard left. They're 6-0. Providence 6-1, but I'm not overly sold on the Friars because when I picked them, they lost.
There you go.
Then I've got Missouri State and Illinois State over 148.5. Like we said, Illinois State is second worst in Division I by giving up 86 points a game. Missouri State, a very efficient offensive team. They should have no problem piling up points on the Redbirds, and that should make this one an easy over. I like LSU minus 11 over Ohio. Ohio is a good mid-major team. They'll compete in the MAC with Buffalo and Toledo and even the Akron Zips. But when they went on the road to Kentucky and Rupp Arena, they failed to cover there. The Pete Maravich Assembly Center is a hostile environment. Will Wade's team 6-0 on the year. Look for them to cover at home. On the ice, I like Edmonton at home over Pittsburgh. We talked about Vegas over Anaheim. I like the Kraken and the Red Wings to stay under 5.5. All of a sudden, Seattle decided that they like that. They've actually figured out how to play a little bit of defense. Detroit is tired. They don't score a lot of goals as it is. This is probably a 2-1, 3-2 type of game that falls short of the number. On the NBA hardwood, I said I like the Clippers over the Kings. I like the Mavericks minus 2.5 at home or on the road against New Orleans. And finally, I like the Thunder, if you're going to play that game straight up, by 2.5 over the Rockets. The home team has won all 3 meetings between those teams this season.
Wow. A lot of good stuff there to go over, folks. And if you miss us live, not a problem. You can watch today's show all the way up to midnight if that's what you want to do. You can look at shows that we've had in the past. So by all means, check it out. By the way, I see a bunch of you here. Do us a favor. Hit the like button and subscribe by all means. If you hit the like button and subscribe, then you're going to find out every time we come on the air when we're going to be there. Okay, so please do that for us. Also, coming up at 3 o'clock right here on the Winners and Whiners Sports Network. Thank us. We got a couple likes there, Chris, while we were talking. I'm not ashamed.
We're glad to have you guys around.
I'm not ashamed to beg for likes. Coming up at 3 o'clock right here on the Winners and Whiners Sports Betting Network will be Back to the Window with Scott and Scott. So,
and don't forget to do that as we go forward. Yeah. We'll be having guests of people that know stuff that we don't necessarily know.
Right.
And we're going to help us help you.
Right. Exactly. We're gonna have on hopefully this week Jack Healy, a name you don't know, but you will know when you get to it. He's one of the people involved in crafting who goes to the bowls and how they get there. So he's going to give us insight on the bowls and how they pick them, because right after this weekend's football games, that's when the bowls will be announced. So it'll be fun to see it. Jack will give us a little preview and give us a little insight on how these things are done. And he'll sit around and we'll see, give him an opportunity to go with Chris here through the parlay business. So that's coming up this week too. Hopefully Jack Healy will join us.
And Liam, I do like Rhode Island -1 in the first half against Harvard. Harvard has been a second half team more than they've been a first half team. They've been up and down. Tommy Amaker, he's done a great job there. But the fact is that after not playing last season, the Ivies are still a little bit behind as far as getting up to speed. You've seen that with Penn. You've seen that with Dartmouth. You've seen the only team that I've really been impressed with out of the Ivies so far is Princeton. So yeah, if you're only giving one, that's not a bad one. Villanova, I have complete faith in. I have no faith in Penn after watching them play numerous times already. I mean, they've struggled against Old Dominion. They've struggled against Utah State. They've struggled against they lost to Towson. Right. Arkansas beat them rather handily. So you should be pretty safe with the Wildcats over the Quakers, even going to the Palestra.
There you go. All right, folks. For Chris King, I'm Jim Williams saying, have a wonderful day. Pay attention to what Chris says, because you can make money doing that. Check out all of his work and the work of the rest of the team here at Winners and Whiners at winnersandwhiners.com. So for Chris King, I'm Jim Williams saying so long for right now. We will see you tomorrow right here on Just Parlays.